All right, folks. Welcome to Sunday evening. We'll do a little live stream here. A couple of days ago, I realized I didn't have a topic, and then a little while after that, I realized I didn't really need to have one. I got plenty to talk about, plenty to catch you guys up on. So we'll do a little variety show. Feel free to check in, drop your questions in the chat, or if you catch it in the replay, feel free to drop your questions uh, in the comments or email me, and I'll get you caught up on everything. So we are officially and fully, completely into my very, very favorite time of year. I love spring. I love everything about it. Pretty much everything about it. Not crazy about weird, wild storms, which we could have another round of tonight, so I'll probably kind of keep an eye on the weather. But man, guys, just breaking out of that winter funk, without a doubt, nothing like it. I just realized that I have a little bit of a shiner from class this morning. I took a knee to the face, unintentional, during jujitsu this morning, and yeah, it's going to show up like that. So shows how much time I spend in front of a mirror. Not much at all. So it feels great out here. We've been hitting the 70s. Heck, I think we almost hit 80 the other day. I'm not ready for that. I don't want the super heat. That can calm down. But the grasses are filling in. All the early greens are up. The bees are out. The frogs are out. We've got bullfrogs in the pond. All the birds are doing their thing, building their nest, and getting busy with each other. So it's just the best. I love coming out of dormant season, watching the trees wake up. I feel like a few things are a little, I don't want to say ahead of schedule because nature knows what it's doing, but some things are certainly popping earlier. A lot of the trees are popping earlier than they normally do. And so far, we've not really had these, significant dips in temperature. It's been a lot more kind of even keel. Just the storms have been a little more of the concerning portion of it. So I'm happy. I'm happy. The sheep are extra happy. The rabbits are happy because they're back on the grass again, and everybody's just really, really leaning into it. So let me get a couple of announcements out of the way here. The next foraging class here on the farm, Foraging on the Farm, is coming up on April 12th. I believe I've got that on a Saturday, but I better double check that. I'm trying to get some on Sundays for folks, but it kind of just depends. Actually, this one is on a Saturday. So Saturday, April 12th, from about 11 a.m. We'll go about 11 to 1ish, sometimes even 2. The classes tend to run longer the further into the season we get. So usually no longer than 3 hours. So that's going to be here on our farm in West Knox County. So if you're in the Knoxville area, Knoxville, Tennessee area, and you would like to come out to a really fun foraging class, then by all means, we always walk. We are in no hurry. We are on hills, but it's nothing crazy, and I kind of tend to orient the walk so that we're never just going straight uphill. We're just kind of like following the contour of the land. So give me a holler. We do it. It's $20 or bring me something cool. We'll work for plants, seeds, cool homemade products, nifty tools. Not everything has to be about cash transaction. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of compensation for my time. But I love to do them, and right now there's just so much to show. Just so much. It's incredible. Um, Something I noted as we've been clearing, portions of land, getting a lot of overgrowth, undergrowth, invasive stuff out. I'm seeing already shade-loving wildflowers pop out in areas where it's not really going to be shade a whole lot longer, so some things are getting transplanted. White avens is one of them. It's a pretty little woodland native flower, and No, it's going to leave me, but I saw another. Oh, I actually saw like actual wild strawberry, not false strawberry or mock strawberry, but actual wild strawberry too. So here and there, I've been kind of going around with a little, with my hori knife and a bucket, and grabbing, digging these plants out in areas where I know they're ultimately not gonna be super happy as the conditions change, and either transplanting them to appropriate areas or potting up some for propagation. It's dropped in. Good to see you, my friend. Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you're doing well down there. Are you guys getting hot yet? Or are you still like kind of mild and kind of nice? So, speaking of the, I don't want to get ahead of myself here. So the foraging class, like I said, that's April 12th. And we are also, I'm going to be at the Living Free in Tennessee Spring Workshop. That runs from April 24th through 27th. That's in Middle Tennessee, Lancaster, Tennessee. And of course, I'll do my foraging walks out there like I always do. We'll probably have a couple of breakout sessions on some other kind of like mindset related topics. I've been kind of kicking that ball around with some friends. It seems like a whole bunch of us kind of individually had a realization that we wanted to have a conversation about, it's going to be woo. It's going to be woo. It's going to be kind of energy related, checking in on how we perceive the shifting mood and atmosphere of the time that we're living in. Not real sure what road we're going to go down, but these are just kind of the conversations that I like to have with people I like and trust and enjoy being around. And I am also, my main presentation for the workshop is going to be on kind of going off grid 101. I think I'm going to make it, lessons learned, early lessons learned almost 5 years in, which sounds crazy, but yes, August or October will be 5 years that we have been back on the farm. That went by fast. So, there's going to be some funny stories. There's going to be, like I said, heavy on the lessons learned. I'm going to really lean into how having the community available to me, to us, made a tremendous difference, helped me solve a lot of issues, helped me not mess up a lot of things, because I knew people, and I could go to those people. So, seeing as how that's actually coming up in a few weeks, I should probably fully get that presentation pulled together. I've kind of got it in. I've got a ton of notes. I've got a lot of what I just call info dumps or brain dump documents, and I just need to make it a little bit cohesive and kind of prioritize it as well. So, like I said, I don't know if the workshop's sold out. I think there might be a couple of tickets left. So if you are wanting to check that out, it's always a good idea to at least get your name on the waiting list, because never fails. At the last minute, somebody will find out that they can't come, or something comes up, and so they put their ticket up to swap. So that's all through Nicole. So Nicole at livingtennessee.com will be the lady to reach out to if you want to get on the waiting list, or see if there's a ticket or two remaining. Some of the finest people that I know, some of my very favorite people to go hang out with, and workshops are always like they're as much as a family reunion as anything else. Last year I was only out there for a day because we had a lot of things going on here at the farm that were, Hank wasn't feeling super great. We just had a death in the family last year. So hoping that things will stay on track, that I can spend at least 3 days out there. At least probably get out there Thursday through Sunday. So looking forward to that. Other interesting news I'm excited about, I submitted my application to the Dixie Lee Farmers Market. That is a farmers market that is actually not very far away, but a 25-minute drive away. And while I don't actually want to attend that market, they are splitting off and they're doing a kind of secondary market literally 2 miles down the road. There's a really cool space down in Hardin Valley. that it was a series of soccer fields at this really cool like metal roof pavilion, big, all kinds, just a neat spot. It's down on Beaver Creek, and for whatever reason, that original endeavor went under. It didn't help that the creek was flooding really bad at that time. There's been improvements made, and I don't think that site has flooded since. This has been many, many years, so hopefully that's been taken care of. And so some local developers and investors got together and turning it into a multi-use space. And one of those is going to be, I believe, it's going to be a Thursday farmers market. My buddy Jeff Cannon is the manager for Dixie Lee, and they're the real deal. So they are a real farmers market. So I'm going to be putting together the plant trailer. So as I increase my what I grow and propagate out here in terms of the edible and medicinal plants, basically things for your perennial food forest style plantings. I'm gonna be offering them up on that Thursday market, which should work fine for my schedule because it's an afternoon market. That's the other thing, guys. Most farmers markets, you got to have everything ready the night before, and you got to leave at butt crack of dawn, which I'm not a fan of, and then you spend your whole day baking. And this one, I can just, probably load up my stuff in the morning and just go a couple miles down the road. And Mama wants to help me too, and she'd enjoy it. And she used to do the farmers market back before the other farmers markets have undergone an interesting transition here in the Knoxville area. I don't want to dunk on them real bad because it is a good way for a lot of farmers to reach people. But some of them, not Dixie Lee, but some of them have gotten highly regulated. Kind of takes the fun out of it for me. So I sent in my application that basically wanted to know, do you live here? Do you grow your own product? You're not buying from somebody else and reselling. And will you pay $30 a year to be a member? And yes, I will. So looking forward to seeing how I think that officially kicks off in June. So I've still got some time to kind of step up my propagation and digging and dividing of all kinds of stuff I have out here and offer up these plantings for other members of my community. Plus, it's an excellent way of, finding folks who may want me for, consulting and education purposes. Real stoked about that. Other cool news, I took my customer Beth and Mama over to Tennessee Naturescapes a week ago, last Tuesday. And they are exclusively native plants. They're in Clinton, TennesseeNaturescapes.com. I think they ship you can order stuff online. So they are exclusively southeastern native plants. Not a real big place, but very nice, very well run, very orderly, and super helpful and kind staff. So we went out there to pick some stuff out for best demonstration site or best my customer best site, and then stuff for another demonstration site. And they just had a great time. Mom and Beth are the same age. They had a lot in common. So they had a great time. The staff was wonderful, and their selection is amazing. I got to make another trip back out there soon because it's time for me to get together a list for my customer in Clinton who needs me to bring up some stuff. So it's excellent. Great little nursery. So give them a look see. Sheep are happy. Sheep are real happy. They are on real, as they call it, real food now. They're off of the hay. I am very hopeful that I will not need to tap into 2 rolls that I still have in reserve. I think we're there. I don't mind having 2 rolls in reserve, of course, but all the fescues are up, all the chickweed's up, the nettle, dandelion, the wild mustard, all kinds of stuff. So I got them onto kind of like the first full filled out, ready to be grazed space at the end of the week. Left them a couple of days in that paddock, moved them to the hops yard yesterday morning. They're very happy there, and it looks like I'm going to be able to start my growing season rotation. We have 40 sheep, 40. That's a lot. Sheep are like compound interest. Remember when you used to get compound interest from the bank? I don't know if they do that anymore. It doesn't feel like they do, but sheep definitely do. Sheep are compounding interest. Angel's been working on tightening up our documentation of everybody because we're definitely going to be selling some this year. I have 2 people for sure who want some, and we kind of want to be able to track lineages and make sure we could at least notate any sheep that had issues. So we've got at this point, pretty detailed notes, pretty happy about it. We know who everybody belongs to in terms of, who gave birth to who and all that kind of stuff. We've got 5 rams, so that's looking good for harvest. That's of the new birds. So we have 5 rams that we know will go. They'll be sold in one form or another. We probably won't. We might retain one. We're thinking about it. We'll see. But mostly they will be food. And then our ram to ewe ratio in terms of births for this winter and spring has just been phenomenal. We've got 2 yearlings left to lamb. Had a little bit of a snafu, not really a true snafu, but a less than ideal situation on Friday. I was preparing to move them into their next paddock. They've been in this kind of brushy area for a few days, and that's where we were finishing up the roll of hay. And they were annoyed. They were ready to be out of it. They could see the fresh grass right there, and they were like, I don't understand why we're not over there. And so while I was in that old paddock, just kind of looking around, taking notes on things, I found a little lamb all by herself. She was fine. She was all curled up asleep in a sunny spot. And I was like, well, that's like, she was brand new. She was dry, but like still had a wet umbilical cord. I'm like, well, who do you belong to? So I went looking around because it was a pretty big paddock. Like I said, a lot of trees in it. And I found the mother, and the mother was laying down with another lamb that she had clearly just birthed. And I looked around a while longer and was certain that she had both. Nobody else looked like they had just dropped the lamb. So I was a little concerned. So I picked up, I don't know if this was the best thing to do, guys, but, I'm learning too. Being a new mother, dropping twins for the very first time lambs and twins, I put that bait, and they're both used, put that one back with her. And she kind of ignored it. I was like, oh, crap. Like, well, let me get them moved, and we'll assess from there. Because at least the paddock was abutted where they were. So we weren't going but through a gate. Got everybody moved. By the way, my double gate thing I've been doing lately, wish I'd figured that out 2 years ago, but it works. It's wonderful. It's one of the smartest things I've done in a while. Makes things so easy and doesn't weird anybody out. So yeah, that's the way to go. Well, as long as I'm doing this with, no permanent fencing. Got everybody moved, and the new mama did not want to move. So I picked up the white lamb that had been left alone, moved her all the way into the new paddock underneath the tree where she'd be out of the way of all the romping that happens when they're on new grass. Went back in, picked up the lamb that she was staying with, and then she followed me in. She would not let the white lamb nurse at all. Tried a few different things, tried to catch her so that I could tie her and let the thing latch on. She wasn't having it. I couldn't catch her. So after about 2 more hours of kind of going back and forth about what I wanted to do, and that being not have a bottle baby, I hollered at Marcy. Marcy asked around, and her daughter said, "I'll take it." So I loaded up that little lamb into a cat carrier and drove all the way out to Mascot, and Shelby is going to take care of it. So uh, the thing, here's the thing about bottle lambs, and it's not, and now it's not my problem anymore. But originally, I told Shelby, I said, "Hey, when this thing weans in 8 weeks, we'll just put it back on the farm." Not really thinking, even though I knew in the back of my mind that that's not a good idea. Later on, Marcy was like, "Hey, we shouldn't do that. They don't respect the fence. They don't even know what the fence means. They will bond with their human, and that's who they will want to stay with. So you will have a problem sheep on your hands almost immediately." So I'm not real sure what the plan is with that ewe. Maybe she can go somewhere where there's like permanent fencing and she can't bust out. But if you're doing polywire, it ain't going to work. So the good news is that that little lamb will get the colostrum and milk and nutrition and everything she needs, and she will have a shot at growing up, because she wasn't going to get it here from her mother. That was for sure. And I really didn't want to saddle myself or anybody else in the family with multiple times a day feeding, feeding a lamb, and it's just not, it's just not feasible at my level of busy right now. This ewe, she is super protective of the other one. She actually will hardly leave it. She will only walk a little ways away to eat. Of all the yearlings, she is the most like mothering and engaged with her lamb. Like, she's always checking on it. So I'll give her another shot. I won't necessarily take her out of the running for another round of breeding. And it's quite possible that there is something wrong. That little lamb may have been weaker. It was a little bit smaller than the other one. Maybe that mother knew something that I didn't know, because I'm not a sheep. So, often nature will have its reasons for things. We don't always pick it up right away. I'm still well within my learning curve of sheep behavior. I've spent more time engaging with how sheep impact the land, and now I'm getting to actually understanding sheep behavior later in more depth. So, so we'll just see. But it'll be cared for. That's what was important to me, and we will breed that one a second time. But we have noted, because they're not, these yearlings aren't ear tagged yet, so we've got everybody noted by markings, and I have named them. I did decide to name them. We're not naming the rams, but I needed some kind of designation. So that particular ewe is named Bandana, because she's all white, but she's got this brown patch all the way around her neck, like a bandana. I guess I could have called her Scarf too, but I think I just like the word bandana. I'll probably call her Banny or something like that. And the lamb that she kept is named Patch, because it's black and white, and it's got one eye patch, like a pirate. I guess I could have called her Pirate too. But anyway, so Patch and Bandana. Otherwise, we're doing good. All the sheep look great. Everybody's growing well. Everybody's, their body condition always, they always lose a little weight in the wintertime when they're on hay. They're feeding their babies and everything, and you can already see everybody starting to fill back out a little bit. And I tell you what, when I moved them into the hops yard, I took time to see what they were hitting first this time of year, and it was the wild onions right away. There's a lot of medicinal in, elements of stuff in the allium family. They hit those wild onions right away, and then the second thing they went for were the new hops plants that are coming up. So we let those hops plants grow a little bit and either weed them back or graze them back a couple of times before we thin them and then train them to the line. So there's clearly something in there that is medicinal and or just extra nutritious. I mean, they know, they have their reasons for why they eat what they do. After that, they were hitting the wild lettuce and then all the grasses. As of yet, they have not gotten into the dead nettle, which has flowered, and they're not really hitting the dandelion either that's flowered. So they're definitely going for things that are still kind of storing up their sugars, but haven't made the kind of gone into the mode of making seed. So it's just interesting to see what they're eating and when, and what it tells you about their health, what they need, and that sort of thing. Um, and as I noticed, like as soon as they were off the hay, they hardly touched the mineral. So they're real heavy on the mineral, of course, when they're eating stored forage. And as soon as they're on fresh stuff, they're tapering off the mineral, which is new because in the first couple of years, they were hitting the mineral hard regardless of what they were eating. So that tells me that my soils and those plants are getting remineralized. So that's really exciting. That's one more indicator that we're making the soil better, that there's more life coming into the soil. So I'm just super happy about that. Medium resistance is here. You're welcome. I like doing the lives. Sometimes at the last minute, or not at the last minute, but sometimes in the middle of the day when I'm working on stuff, I'll be like, oh man, I got to stop and get on the YouTubes. But I actually like doing it. Once I start talking, I realize that I really enjoy sharing the farm stories and sharing my thoughts with you guys. So thank you for hanging out and listening. I don't think I've checked my stats in a while, but last I looked, I think we're pretty close to 200 subscribers. So, guys, in my mind, I think, wow, if I had 200 people in a room listening to me, that's pretty crazy. I'm super appreciative of that. So, I'm not really worried about playing a numbers game. I just want to share what I got to share and engage with you guys and make it useful and valuable to you. So, yeah, that's sheep news. Doing good. It was just time to be, back in the mode of thinking about, okay, when do we need to move? We're trying to keep it to no longer than 3 days. It's going to be faster this year with this many sheep, even though we're going to sell some off in probably April and May. We're going to be moving faster. Definitely going to be moving faster. Going to try to tighten them up a little bit more so that they can't be as picky about certain things, so that we are propagating what is useful to the sheep, and just keep rocking and rolling. Another cool thing I got to do earlier in the week, I think it was Wednesday, Monday, I can't remember. Anyway, it was last week. But I had a neighbor from just down the road reach out to me. I think we had crossed paths in local Facebook group, probably one of the gardening groups or something like that. But she reached out to me actually last fall, and she said, I would love to have you out to help show me what's growing in my yard, which, as crazy as it sounds, is part of what I do for a living now. So she reached out to me, but she was kind of like, hey, like I can't really pay a whole lot, but I've got plants to divide, and I've got seeds, and I've got all kinds of cool stuff, And I was like, look, let's just do it. Don't worry about money. Seeds and plants are as valuable to me as cash. So, and she didn't need like all the documentation and everything that I can do. Like that's what really eats up my time. I will pretty much show up here locally and talk about what's in your yard in exchange for seeds and things like that. So I went out there, and she's got a little, not real little, but she's kind of got I'd say it's a quarter acre-ish lot in one of the older subdivisions in town, not far from us at all. And we just had the best time. We just had the best time looking around, sharing stories and stuff. I answered a bunch of questions for her, gave her some pointers on some things. She's all about, understanding what's going on in her yard and why, and leveraging and understanding these natural systems. And the neighbors on each side of her are also like big time, food gardeners and, supporting habitat and pollinators and all kinds of stuff like that. So So that was nice. That was super enjoyable, and I got a lot of really cool seed out of it too. She had not only like cool seed, but well labeled too, way more organized than I am. So, uh, yeah, I got all kinds of neat stuff. It was kind of one of those things where like I kind of wanted to get it, but kept finding other ways I needed to direct my money. So I was holding off, and so it worked out. It worked out, and nobody needed to be involved in that exchange, government, except me and my new friend. So, so I love it. Wouldn't it be cool to like? I mean, we're already doing this. There's nothing that's stopping us from doing it, but it would be interesting if at some point most exchange was about. I can't remember who I had this conversation with, but we were like, what if the unit of exchange was caloric? So the more, or not necessarily caloric, but like nutrient dense. So, um, a pound of kale was worth a certain amount, not like a dollar amount, but would exchange for one thing, but a pound of pastured beef would be of greater value. So it's like, what if we had an economy based on caloric and nutrient density instead of fiat? I thought it'd be kind of cool. And and seeds would be like coins, you know, and then a finished product would be more like bills and so forth. So, and land and space would be like investments or savings. It was just kind of a. I think it was maybe my friend Lynn that we were batting that back and forth one day when we were walking around her yard. So, plenty of ways to go about doing this stuff, right, guys? Like, we don't have to jump through a bunch of hoops necessarily every time to do that. So that was awesome. That was awesome. I made sure that she got on the mailing list so they can know about our classes when they want to come out here. Oh yeah, and she brought her son along, and he is homeschooled. All of her kids are homeschooled, and he came along to listen and take notes and kind of study. So, and he was really into it. So that makes me happy. There were when she invited me inside to look through her seeds. There were no screens on, no TVs on, no kid plugged into a device. They were engaging with real toys, and I could not help but notice how well spoken and mature those kids were. Probably nice to not, go into public school worried about getting bullied and made fun of and stressed out and judged and so forth. So, right on for folks who are able to uh, engage with their kids in that way. If we had kids, we would certainly do some variety of homeschool or unschooling or whatever the case may be. And I like to lead these classes. I get people reaching out to me all the time. If I'll do classes for homeschool kids, yeah, bring them, or I'll come to you. Absolutely. So somebody's listening to this, and you want somebody to come out and talk about these regenerative principles, talk about working with ecology, doing the foraging classes, and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to do it. Give me a holler. I'm pretty good with kids. So uh, they really surprise me sometimes. It seems like most of the kids I do engage with, because a lot of them are children of customers of mine when I'm on a consult or something, and they're almost always homeschooled, and they're brilliant and attentive. So I don't think we have a problem with kids. I think we have a problem with kids being programmed. So that's why I'm never big on this kind of like generational dunking and older people dunking on the younger generation. A lot of them are doing the best they can with kind of a crappy situation. I didn't like school. It sucked. Much of it sucked. I was so sick of it by the time I got out of high school. Um, it was just I just saw it as a joke. It really didn't serve me very well at all. I did what I needed to do to get out, but I had no real desire aside from my stuff that was related to communications because I thought that was the direction I was going to go in with my career. Aside from that, I just felt almost entirely disconnected from the whole process. The whole thing felt forced and fake. So I applaud people who, even if your kids are in public school and that's the best you can do, staying engaged with your kids' lives. I think that's kind of the point of being a parent, but no judgment from me. Kids were not part of our life for this particular incarnation. So let's see. What else have I gotten into on the farm? Oh, yeah. So last Sunday, did I do a live stream last Sunday? Or did I do it on Saturday? I don't remember. So maybe I already mentioned this, but I don't think I did. My brother Tyler went out and got about 14, 15 or so fruit trees from a little, some kind of shop up in Kodak close to where you get up to go towards the Smoky Mountains. And it's kind of one of these sundry stores, and they get a big shipment of dormant trees this time of year, which is a good thing, which means the trees came from north of here, which means they have longer chill hours and they don't wake up as early, and they're less likely to get nipped in our crazy springs where we'll have 80 degrees one day and 32 the next night. So we put all those trees in with his girl and his girlfriend and her daughter. We had a great time. Got them all planted, got them mulched, got the cardboard treatment, and so basically where my food forest is on one side of the driveway, you jump the driveway, and then that's Tyler's food forest, which, given the way that section is laid out, is a little more orchard style, but polyculture. So not like we do have a shrub level, and then we have the trees, and we have some figs, and we have some other things in, and then we'll fill in around with some smaller shrubs like blueberries and such. But for now, we've got them on the contour, but in a line, so we can still mow easily, because we're probably not going to get to sheet mulching the whole thing until wintertime. So it'll be easier to mow. But all kinds of cool stuff. Several different kinds of peaches and plums. A couple of different apples. He found a really cool crab apple. And I'm blanking at the moment. I think that we put a nectarine in there. I think another fig, because I transplanted one fig from another part of the property. So yeah, just all kinds of cool stuff. So really, we're gonna start filling that out, and we're just gonna have all the fruit trees. And the thing was they were inexpensive. I'm not sure they were I'm not saying they were bad quality, but they were the kind of the ones you'll see these at United Grocery Outlet where they've got them in a little plastic sock. So there's not a lot of root structure on them. So we dug extra roomy holes and backfilled with a good compost mixture and stuff to give those roots plenty of nutrition. And I've watered them in a couple of times, and then we've had rain off and on for the last couple of days. So, and then I gave them kind of their initial pruning, because they were just, they never been pruned at all. Gave them their kind of setup pruning for the open canopy for the stone fruit trees, and then the pears and the apples getting a little more of the, not as open in the center, but the proper spacing between the branches. So excited to see how those come along. Had a couple of Asian pears in there too. So really, really stoked to see these come along. Little bit of infrastructure improvement around here. Nothing real crazy. I've got the pretty much the greenhouses at full capacity at the moment. Pretty close to being able to pull some of those early greens out and get trays in of more hot weather crops. And I don't really know as I do. I've started more stuff than I really have room to plant. Some of it's going to go to Bess, and then I'm just going to reach out to some of my local customers here and see who wants a few things. Been splitting comfrey and getting it plugged into more places. More, transplanted a few dormant trees. Just earlier today, I pulled out a big. I had two catalpa trees way too close together, and one has never done super great. It's just not been real happy. The other one has been fine. So the kind of oddball catalpa tree, which is probably about 3 feet tall, dug it out today and transplanted that down into a pasture. It'd be a great pasture tree. So, and then instead, in that particular spot, moved a gooseberry that was also not very happy before it was fully out of dormancy. And just some little adjustments like that. And I also got my compost tea brewer barrel set up down at the greenhouse. So that is where I'll either, it's a 33 gallon, 35 gallon, it's like the pickle barrel, the brown pickle barrel drum with a tap on it. Basically, it's a rain barrel, but it's got screen over the top. So I can load that up with like comfrey or my weed tea mixture, or I can dilute and size up a worm tea mixture. My aerator will drop right down in there, which is basically just, a bubbler. And I've already got power down there, so I can just do like continuous batches of compost tea down there. I have been just doing it in a 5-gallon bucket, and then silly me realized that I had a barrel ready to rock and roll exactly for that reason. So I want to have a ongoing batch ready, and I can just crank open that tap, fill a jug for a customer, fill a bucket for here, whatever needs to happen, and just have it ready to go for spreading that fertility around. So I think I got you guys caught up on the farm news. That's one to show something kind of cool, and I hope these are going to show up okay on the camera. I've got these Permaculture Playing cards. These were put out from the folks at Permies.com, Paul Wheaton's operation. Paul and Alexander Ojeda. I really hope I didn't mispronounce that. Clearly not Spanish. Ojeda? Ojeda Jr. Mr. Alexander there is the artist on these. So I bought these cards 2 years ago from Paul Wheaton's booth at Self-Reliance Festival. Went looking for them a couple of weeks ago. Haven't been able to find them anywhere. So I ordered another one. They'll probably turn up. I don't know if I loaned them to somebody, if on a whim I've thought of somebody who would really, really love them and appreciate them and I gave them away, or if I've just hid them from myself, but I could not find my original batch. But guys, these cards are beautiful. I don't know how to play cards. Don't ask me about poker or anything like that. I have no flipping idea. But these are, if you wanted, you could probably make any kind of game out of these. But the art is stunning, and it's loaded. That shows up pretty good with details. These are just so cool. This is affiliate nothing. If you want these, go to Permies.com or go, pull up Paul Wheaton's work. You can order from them. It's like $15 for the pack. It supports their efforts out there. Basically, it explores concepts, methodology, stories, the man who planted trees, specific plants, mullein, one of my favorites. Got lots of mullein up here. Food as medicine. I mean, look at the art on this. I'm a sucker for colorful stuff, for sure. This is kind of a problem of mine. All about different bees, mason bees, honey bees. Alan Savory, that's one of the guys that he's a mentor and doesn't know it for rotational pasture management. There's stuff in here that I don't recognize. I have to figure out. There's one for urine. Something called HUSP. HUSP. It appears to be a plant. No, it's an organization. Horticulture of the United States of Pocahontas is a fictional account of the U.S. as if Europeans never settled. Is this like I think it's a It's a fictional country renowned as a place to become healthy. All right. Well, I'm going to look that up. So that's HUSP. See, now I've got my. I don't think I ever noticed this one in my original. When I originally had my deck, that was the thing. I hadn't even had that deck that long when I lost it or gave it away or something, because I had been. I had them by my where I sit in the morning, most mornings with my coffee when we don't go outside, and I was pulling a card out, just one card a day, studying it, putting it in my little tray where I keep little things that I want to kind of have in the forefront of my mind. And I don't know where they went. I don't know if I packed them to take them to an event or something and left them. I don't know. So if one of my buddies finds these cards, awesome, keep them. It's all good. Got me another deck. I might get a couple more because they're so cool. Because I'd love to share these with more people. But yeah, this is like, I'll have to look up this husp thing. It says permaculture remedies. Permaculture resembles, the text is really small and I'm running out of daylight. Permaculture resembles some of the agricultural practices of Native America. HUSP is a thought experiment on what agriculture might look like if those practices evolved. See, this is what I think about all the time. I was just having this conversation with Angel over coffee yesterday morning. I told her that I would love to like read a book, or maybe it's out there, read a book or watch a film or a TV series of like a what if. What would our world look like if, let's say, if even the Industrial Revolution hadn't happened and we stayed a primarily like agricultural, human and animal powered society? Let's say either oil is not discovered or oil is really sparse and very difficult to access. What would it look like? And this is not, because there's, with certain people who are, in the concepts of rewilding and stuff like that, there are some people, they have a tone to me that is very like disapproving and angry and frustrated, and I get all that, and I certainly experience those feelings, but I'm more of like, what would it have looked like, and what can we do to get close to that? Like, we can still do that. Like, if we want to coordinate our lives in such a way that we're less engaged. I mean, this is already a huge part of my lifestyle. We're less engaged with consumer culture, and we're more engaged with permaculture and with community and with alternative ways of doing things, kind of like a cross between permaculture and that punk ethos and the DIY ethos and all of those things, all this stuff that I talk about. I would just kind of like to see it represented. And, I don't know if I'm the kind of creative type, like, I don't think I'm actually going to like try to make this movie or make, write that story, but I sure do ponder that a lot. It's like, what if our technology was more built on understanding natural systems and working with like etheric technologies that Wilhelm Reich and Steiner and those guys were studying, and even Tesla, and that Nikola Tesla was they wrote and they discovered and they shared all these things, and it just all got just dogpiled on by industrialism, kind of by the late 1900s. I would love to know what that world looked like. Like, I'd love, like, as an alternative history, man, that would just be incredible. Because I'm the kind of person, like, I don't think that means everything sucked. I don't think that's how it would have been. We still had beautiful architecture. We still had society. We had, education and engagement. I don't think that would have meant that everybody would have been, a forced laborer or something of that nature. So that's what I think about a lot lately. And that's what I want my life to look like. I wonder sometimes if that's why some people who are really into preparedness, prepper fiction, and collapse fiction, if they're what they're actually trying to engage with is a world without all of the frustration and aggravation and pressure and stress of modern Western society. I mean, isn't that what the Back to the Land movement, the version that came about in the 70s, and then we get a revival of it about every 25 or 30 years? Isn't that what that was really about? Was just actually living a life where you were engaged with real things. You weren't stuck with a bunch of plastic junk, fighting with technology that they tell you it's getting better, but it's more frustrating than ever to deal with, and it's unreliable and it pisses you off. The garden doesn't ever piss me off, but this computer sure as shit does. Can't help but notice that. So, this was intentional. Pulling this card was this was synchronicity. I'm supposed to look at this more. I'm supposed to engage with this more. I follow that kind of thing. I pay attention to that for sure. Let me wet my whistle here. Yeah. I might have answered my question as to what I try to think, a week ahead or so of what the world could look like or would have looked like if certain things had gone in a different direction. This will be a fun one to explore. Let's put it on the notebook so it doesn't fall off my radar. What would it look like? You guys let me know as you have a chance to ponder it. We'll say if, let's call it, instead of the Industrial Revolution, let's call it the Rooted Revolution. If it had gone that way instead. I've studied guys like John Zerzan and Derek Jensen. I really like these guys' writings. Actually, even, hopefully I don't get my stream shut down here, but if you read Mr. Theodore Kaczynski's manifesto, dude called it. He knew what he wrote. It was a critique of industrial civilization, modern civilization at the time. We're there. What is happening is what he said was going to happen. And a lot of it's not great. The level of the lack of privacy, the amount of, the strength of the police state, the absolute bonkers government overreach. It's all happened. Now, to be clear, yes, I have my anarchist leanings. It wasn't okay for Ted to kill people. That's never okay. And that, it's never okay to kill people when we're not in a self-defense scenario. That was not the way to get his point across. Ted could have written and gotten published and gone on speaking tours, and he could have shared that information without ever needing to try to bring attention to himself by killing people. So don't agree with that. Absolutely. Let me go on record. Not okay. Killing people, not a permaculture ethic. Most definitely a violation of the non-aggression principle. So we're not going that route. But there are a lot of people who have written on these topics, written on kind of where do we go wrong? Because a lot of people will say even at the time agriculture was established. When agriculture was established and humans decided that it was okay, they thought it was okay and acceptable to enslave other human beings. Also not okay. Not okay, never okay. That's when a lot of these writers, thinkers believe that we turned the corner in the wrong direction. And went for a way of conducting things that is exploitive. So my interest lies in how does it look if it's not exploitive? That's the thought exercise I like to have. And it actually reminded me years and years and years ago, I read a book called The Fifth Sacred Thing. Now, guys, I went through a very, I guess I call it a hippie phase in my 20s, my mid 20s or so. I don't really know what to call it. It's kind of this blend of, like my kind of punk rock and all that too. But I briefly, I read a bunch of stuff by writers like Starhawk. Starhawk is the author of The Fifth Sacred Thing. And then the follow-up books, Walking to Mercury, which is a prequel, and then I'm gonna forget, but she wrote a third book in the series, and I don't think it's in book form, but you can read it, you can get it electronically. I'm blanking, but anyhow, Starhawk, she's a permaculturist, and I actually didn't know at the time that I was reading her books, but she kind of lands in the realm of, some people would call her New Age. I think that's a little bit, maybe not the best descriptor for her, but The Fifth Sacred Thing was a book that took place in future California, and it was essentially a story about a society that was at peace, and everybody was cared for, everything was abundant, but there was an outside aggressor. And so they were kind of constantly having to watch out for this, basically what was left over of the old United States government. Most of the United States has collapsed, like the overarching structure of federal government has collapsed. And this is kind of like the last vestiges hanging on, trying to take over land, and they're able to just kind of fly under the radar in their little community. And the book blew my mind because it really envisioned, I think, how society could be. Now, in a lot of ways, it is, a lot of people would read it and say that it is impractical because everything is built on consensus. There is no hierarchical structure there. The town is kind of ran by a council of elders. But anyway, I remember just loving this book and reading it a couple of times and then putting it away. And I really thought I had my own copy, and then I wasn't able to find it recently. So I found a copy on eBay. But, it's one of those things where practical, probably not. Like, I don't know if it's possible for humans to live outside or without some kind of hierarchical structure. We're awfully programmed to it at this point. But at the same time, I mean, have you guys ever been like just camping with friends and everybody just takes care of business? Like, everybody just kind of makes sure to bring enough stuff to share, help each other set up your tents, and you help build the fire, and you help build the wood, and you just kind of do what needs to be done for the camping to not suck. And anybody who doesn't pull their weight doesn't get invited to the next camping trip. I mean, that's kind of what this non-hierarchical structure looks like. People who have certain talents do those things that they're talented and that they want to do, and nobody is forced or threatened with harm or violence to do things that they don't want to do. And when people are allowed to find and propagate their own natural talents and leanings, which I think most people have something that they want to do. The problem is it doesn't always result in making enough money to get by. It's like, what if you could? Or what if we had such a society, I know I'm getting way out there now, but we had such a society where it wasn't about making money, but it was about serving your community. And if you knew you were serving your community, you were taken care of. And there is no controlling entity, government involved. Like at most, there is some kind of council to handle arbitration between individuals if need be. I just think it's a heck of a thought experiment. And I would love to see more of this come about in my lifetime. I think as structures, large, complicated structures, tend to kind of fold under their own weight and complexity. You guys know how bonkers bureaucracy is and how inefficient it is and how aggravating all aspects of it are. As people just kind of say, maybe we just don't need to engage with that as much anymore. I think we'll see these communities form. And I'm just not sure how long it'll take. But I think a lot of us are reverting back to a more humane way of connecting with others and taking care of business. Really, is what it's about. So, yeah, I think I'll be digging into this concept more and talking about what it looks like, because if I think I have a duty to lend my voice to that greater conversation about what our society could look like. And frankly, guys, I don't care if I'm yapping about stuff that seems too good to be true. I mean, anything that has ever been created, any tool, any concept, it was an idea first. It was an idea first, and it grew from there. And enough people got on board to make it happen, regardless of what it was. I think a lot of the things that are going wrong in our society have just kind of happened because enough people kind of thought it was a good idea at the time and didn't see why we shouldn't. And now we're seeing why we shouldn't and why it was maybe not such a good idea after all. So that could go for so many things. And it's 100% possible to just disengage a little bit at a time. You don't need to upend your entire life. You don't have to stop talking to people who see things differently. You can just make little changes. And I've made little changes my whole life. And now I've gotten pretty close to a lot of almost everything I get to do with my life is something that I want to do. And I think everybody has the opportunity to do it. And I certainly want to see everybody have the opportunity to do it for sure. So, wow, that was my ramble. So I guess I had something to talk about after all, not just farm news. So yeah, guys, it's been about an hour here. Thank you for hanging out, Pippin and Medium Resistance there. Thank you so much, guys, for dropping a comment. Like I said, foraging class coming up on April 12th here in Knoxville. I am available for consulting work, land design, everything based under the principles and ethics of permaculture and everything regenerative for your property, your small farm, even your urban and suburban properties. Give me a holler. I'm available for those consultations within about a 4-hour drive of Knoxville, Tennessee. And if I can lend you guys a hand, let me know. I'll be glad to do it. strongrootsresources@gmail.com. And I'm going to sign off here. You guys have a great evening. We'll talk to you next time.